the Bougainville Peace Agreement is concerned and matters relating to Bougainville, as well as on disaster and our PNG soldiers being invited back to the island. Pass them through me like look sawa long all picking in limi all comes in on one long house long all our children from our schools, thank you for coming in, as well as those of you who are in the public gallery and our good friends from the media. I want to give a brief response to this question. Fullest update will come later in this sitting of Parliament as to the status of where we are in as far as the Bougainville peace agreement requirements are concerned. Just to give him context, lo display, give me clear the unfortunate event of crisis in Bougainville started in 1988 thereabouts, and from 88 ikam since 2001 time peace agreement is signed. Never even got any more instances long fight get up long Bougainville can. And you may be in walkabout long 2001 peace agreement. 2001 peace agreement, and we talk also within 15 to 20 years of since the signing of 2001 peace agreement, by got referendum. And inside the referendum, by got question one block question, and long political future of Bougainville. And so the path that was outlaid in as far as the peace agreement was concerned, since 2001, you may be in this lawabadi coming up. Now, along 2019, you may be get referendum. And after referendum, you may all get a clear opinion. Result, 97.7% in favor of independence for Bougainville, and only 2.3% only talk all like stop one time underneath the greater autonomy. Actual population number is around 187,000 only vote long independence. Now underneath the 3,000 only vote long greater autonomy. Two question where referendum is asking all them, you like stop underneath long greater autonomy or you like stop long independence? This question and cabinet in 2018 or 2017 he approving this two question. Now me play run him through. As he may come up in 2019, we were approaching the end of that 15 to 20 year period in which a referendum must be held. And so unfailingly, at the advice of United Nations, that the three prerequisite conditions for referendum has been complied upon. And so you are now okay to stage the referendum. And so again, at the supervision or insistence from United Nations, and under their supervision, the referendum was held. And me like informing Papua New Guinea, Bougainville included, through this question, that we are now coming down to the last leg of the 2001 peace agreement. And we talk last or requirement, and we require that Parliament by Kissim result belong referendum, and underneath the talk is silly belong section 342 belong Bougainville or our national constitution that deals with Bougainville issues, and we talk also in Parliament by making final decision. Parliament by making final decision. Me like give him indication long give me all members of this house that you can carry go back long one on a corner of Papua New Guinea. Also Parliament in the wisdom belong 2001 peace agreement, where leaders belong Bougainville, now leaders from Papua New Guinea inside him time early talk. A referendum must take place, but in the 2001 peace agreement, and the Parliament by ratifying. But come along, law where you may send him to Parliament by making final decision, simply because the difference I was Bougainvilleans to play by questioning why talk long peace agreement, the Parliament ratify him, why long constitution and the Parliament making final decision. Ratification takes place with treaty-like documents between a sovereign nation and another sovereign nation. And so Parliament at that time, in its wisdom, had to make the right wording into Section 342, subsection 2, that says Parliament will make a final decision. May I inform him that that has been an issue of debate, discussion amongst Bougainville officials and our officials, between Papua New Guinea leaders and Bougainville leaders, on what really meaning belong Parliament by making final decision. But we like giving big looks away also, and I need long consultations, post-vote consultation that is required again by the peace agreement. We've had 3 or 4 consultations, including back-to-back joint supervisory meeting between Bougainville and PNG leaders. In those series of meetings at Kokopo, at Wabek, at APEC House meeting that we converted into what is now labeled as the Era Kone Covenant, there were clarities brought forward, and on their side, they have understood now that when Parliament makes decisions, Parliament don't just make decisions based on executive government conversation or one minister proposal. Parliament make decisions that is based on vote. Or even to bring the motion into Parliament, a vote will take place. May I give him barely see long people of Bougainville that a minister, in a statement he presented earlier, Minister of Bougainville, he said a sessional order, a vote that will take place through an absolute majority. We have now relooked at and discussed with Clark. Sessional order pathway will require just simple majority, but the actual deliberation on the issue of Parliament making decision, because it is a constitutional matter, will require constitutional number requirements, and that is absolute majority requirement by Parliament to deal with this matter. And that is also, and Bougainville leadership and Bougainvilleans have given respect to the parliamentary process, and I just want to appreciate them for giving respect to the entire parliamentary process. Just like we took decision for a referendum to take place, and now we're coming to the other side of the coin, the peace agreement specified. It will come back to the Parliament to progress, and I want to, Mr. Acting Speaker, through you, secure an appointment for this House that towards the end of next week, if it pleases you, that I'll be given an opportunity to make a detailed statement through the pathway that is coming before us. But members of Parliament on both sides are encouraged. Today over lunch, there'll be a presentation by Bougainville leaders about where we are and from the side, because I want us also to look from their lens, and we also have asked them to look from our lens. Our lens is that Constitution doesn't allow for independence, and we want total unity. Their lens is that their Constitution allowed for referendum to take place, of which independence was an issue. They voted for independence. They want to go. We have to reconcile these 2 points. And the wisdom of the 2001 peace agreement was such where Parliament will make the final decision on this matter, and it will take place through the process of vote. Having said this, I want to also assure people of Bougainville, in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, under my watch, we've given them more resources to get Bougainville up and running, including deciding on 621 million kina as what was defined constitutionally, what we owe to them, never paid before. We agreed, and under our watch, Treasurer Yenling Saki and Finance Minister, the Honorable Rainbow Paita, have been clearing out some of these obligations to them, and I will give a full report to Parliament next week on how much we've given them to get going in as far as developing the infrastructure and building up the economy is concerned. And so we've worked with them and ramping up our work back with them. A disaster has taken place in terms of that volcano. Cabinet has approved 12 million kina in the first instance to address the 3,000 people or so who have been displaced. But I want to also acknowledge today as I speak, PNG Navy has for the first time, Navy boat, for the first time is now entering Buka Passage. It has never happened since 2001. And I want to place on record my sincerest appreciation to President Honorable Ismail Toroma and the leadership in Bougainville for realizing that the past, with the scars remaining, but the past is gone. We need to shepherd a new future going forward. There needs to be greater collaboration between not just people to people and government to government, but more importantly, agencies of government. And in this instance, knowing very well that we've packed disaster relief agency with the Defense Force, and we've tasked our defense to also handle disasters in our country, they have requested for our Navy to go back, and today the Navy boat is now parking, going in for bay at Buka Passage, and very soon we'll set sail after a small ceremony of healing, get together, working together again. After that small ceremony has taken place in Buka, the boat will leave again for the disaster area. And I want to also say thank you to Governor for East New Britain and the people of East New Britain, member for Kokopo, and all East New Britain leadership and people. They continue to be a very, very important interface between Bougainville and Papua New Guinea. Before the Navy boat left for Buka and Buin, eventually Buin area, the people of East New Britain loaded some cacao, banana, tapioca, coconut, taro, any food they can find, and they also load some additional care, iron roofing, etc., onto the Navy boat, and the Navy boat is there. National government has funneled through over 10 million kina worth of support program for the relief. This is to rebuild our people to people. Many scars on the island, we just have to heal as time goes into the future. And I want to give greatest assurance to the rest of our country, including Bougainvilleans, that we will work through the spirit of 2001 peace agreement. Whatever it is, the final decision the parliament take, Bougainvilleans need not fear. The rest of Papua needs not fear. We just have to find a final solution that includes in a big way a political structure that is applicable, giving respect to the people on Bougainville who have voted for self-determination. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Karamui Nomani.
And thank you for giving the people of, for the record, my district is Salt Nomani Karamui. Most times it's referred to as Nomani Karamui, so that can be reflected in the answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Acting Speaker, my question without notice is directed at the Minister for Provincial and Local Government Affairs. And I don't know if the minister, good minister,
Honourable Member, I think the Honourable Minister is not in the chamber.
Perhaps the Prime Minister can assist the Minister of all the ministers. He can take answer questions on behalf of the good minister.
You can go ahead and ask your question to the Prime Minister.
Thank you. For the Minister for Petroleum and Energy to take note. Mr. Acting Speaker, it is on the Hansard for the Parliament sitting on the 6th of, last Parliament sitting on the 6th of June. The good Minister for Provincial Affairs is on record. There were questions put to the good minister by the member for Kairi Kuhiri, and there was a supplementary question also put to the same minister by the governor of Southern Highlands.
Honourable member, before you addressing, you will wait until the speaker allowed you to speak, so you can go ahead and raise your point of order.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. The point of order was that my friend makes reference to a question raised by member for Kairi Kuhiri. A seat, I believe, that was abolished in the last Parliament on the 22nd of March. Was that the member for Kairi Ku or member for Hiri Koyari? For the sake of the Hansards, thank you.
Yes.
Honourable Member, your point of order is in order, and I'd like to thank all the members to remember your electorate very clearly and reminding the chair. So your point of order is in order for Hansard clarification. Honourable Member, go ahead with
Thank
your
you,
question.
Mr. Acting Speaker. My apology. It's the member for Hiri Koyari. And there was a supplementary question also to the same minister by the Governor for Southern Highlands regarding the performance of Special Purposes Authority in project areas and the apparent non-inclusion of project impacted LLGs, local level governments, and the concerned district in which the projects are taking place. And if we can confirm on the record, the outset, the good minister has informed the House that his ministry was taking steps to bring in legislative amendments to address these issues. With the advent of a good number of projects coming on board, there is a greater need for the inclusion of the LLGs and the infected districts in which those projects are taking place. And in the current scheme of things, the good Minister for Petroleum will confirm, it is the provincial government, the SPA, the Special Purposes Authority, and to some extent, the customary landowners of the project. The LLGs are left out so as the district through the District Development Authority. And at the last, as I've said during the last sitting, the good minister said his ministry was taking steps. Unfortunately, he's not here, but the good Prime Minister can answer that question, or not, he can take note and take it up with the minister. Can the good minister inform this, or can the good minister through the Prime Minister inform this House and the people of this country to what extent his ministry has undertaken those legislative amendments that he has informed the House on during the last Parliament sitting on the 6th of June 2023? And if so, how soon can these amendments be introduced on this floor so that it could be passed as law, so that infected LLGs and districts in which projects, resource projects like oil and gas are taking place, are captured, are catered for in issues of representations and benefit sharing. This is important because we need to have project security. We need to make these entities inclusive in matters of decision and in benefit sharing. So, Mr. Acting Speaker, these are my questions to the Minister for Provincial Local Government Affairs through the Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I want to appreciate the question from the member for Salt Nomane Karamui. I will ask you, Mr. Acting Speaker, through you, Mr. Acting Speaker, if the good member could put his question in writing to me, convey this request. I will get the department consent and the minister to give an update and a response to him at the very earliest, if not at the next Parliament sitting. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Bulolo.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, for Luke Sawalo Bulolo. I will just take 3 minutes of the question time because this is in regards to the new districts. I think all of us share the same issues. It's to the question is to the Honourable Prime Minister and for the Minister for Provincial and local level government to local level government affairs to take note. Mr. Acting Speaker, on March 2022, obviously last year, the 10th National Parliament voted to accept the recommendations of the Electoral Boundaries Commission report 2021 for the creation of the 13 new open electorates. After your presentation to the Parliament, after the presentation to the Parliament, so the acceptance of the report
to the Parliament was partly affected in the 2022 national general elections, with 7 new electorates and the remaining 6 new electorates affected in the 2027 national general election. On this juncture, I wish to take this time to convey my sincere gratitude to the Electoral Boundaries Commission for the report and to the Parliament for the acceptance of the report. I also acknowledge your unwavering steadfastness and that of your government in 2022, including my late father, to solicit absolute support from the members of the 10th Parliament to approve the EBC recommendations. My good Prime Minister, I wish to inform this House that the tasks of the EBC have not concluded as yet, because I am one of the affected electorates. The Commission still has to complete relevant tasks to shape the ends of the amended existing electorates and the newly created open electorates. The organic law on national and local level government elections under Section 36, 3 and 4 empowers the EBC, amongst their considerations, to also consider the existing LLGs in the districts. So my good Prime Minister and the Minister responsible for the electoral boundaries matters, the remaining tasks of the EBC include: Number 1, since the creation of the new electorates, the LLGs are still recognized by the government gazette as registered under their old electorate names. Example, my Watut LLG in Bololo is still under Wow Bololo electorate. Wow Bololo electorate was abolished, and Wow Waria and Bololo electorates were created. So Watut LLG technically exists under an electorate that doesn't exist anymore. The LLGs affected are not only in my electorate, but other newly created electorates, and those that will come in 2027 now exist under an electorate that does not exist anymore. I ask that the Prime Minister task EBC to recommend abolition, relocation, proclamation, amendments, and establishments of the 68 local level governments and wards in the 30 open electorates and districts affected by the EBC report, with close consultation with the Department of Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs. These amendments be done and proclaimed by the head of state before 2024 LLG general elections, which is next year, and 2027 national general elections. The coming LLG elections will create a lot of legal implications if this is not sorted out properly now. This is number 1. Number 2, can the good Prime Minister direct the EBC to redraw the electoral boundaries or maps and LLG boundaries maps for the affected electorates? These tasks are very important and urgent that needs to be completed to formally recognize the political boundaries of the affected districts. So finally, my question to the Prime Minister, can you recall the Electoral Boundaries Commission to recommence its mandate and finalize the remaining tasks which are critically important for the full establishments of the 13 new districts and other affected districts that requires amendments to their boundaries? So before the LLG elections next year, and even 2027 elections, national elections. And secondly, to make funds available for the completion of this task, so we don't face further problems. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I want to appreciate the question from a member for Bololo that asked on matters in relation to the LLG readjustments and configurations to ensure they fall within the split that has taken place in the 7 new electorates and the other new electorates to come and their sister or brother electorates. The provincial local level government has been tasked to look into this matter. I will get the department concerned through the minister to update us on the work that they have been doing. and the consequential amendments that needs to take place to be brought back into Parliament. We will also get the Electoral Boundaries Commission. In fact, it is part of the work to work and prepare these LLGs in ready for election of LLGs in 2024. I want to give assurance to the member that this work is taking place as we speak, and before we complete this Parliament year, some matters that may need Parliament's attention will come back to Parliament for Parliament to clear and approve and pass into law. Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker.
The Honourable Deputy Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Question Blomi by Golo Gupla Prime Minister Blomi Ken. My question, Mr. Acting Speaker, to the Prime Minister would be related to the COVID pandemic. And so, Mr. Acting Speaker, on or around March 2020, a state of emergency was declared in the country, thereby halting all incoming and domestic flights, limiting travel between provinces as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. My good Prime Minister, you announced that the state of emergency has been lifted as of June 16, 2020, and the easing of coronavirus restrictions. Additionally, some emergency restrictions put in place under the state of emergency will begin to ease, such as restrictions on public movement, although strict social distancing measures would continue to remain in place. My good Prime Minister, through you, the Speaker, Acting Speaker, you further announced that the National Operations Center, or the NOC, will remain in place once the state of emergency has lapsed on June 16, 2020. The NOC will carry out the National Public Health Act, which will allow the government to quickly impose new restrictions on the advice of health and medical experts if needed to curb the spread of coronavirus in the country. This then clearly became a health issue. Mr. Acting Speaker, my questions are, why is the Police Commissioner continuing as controller of the pandemic emergency? Number one. Number two, if a pandemic emergency is current, which authority declared it, since I do not remember this Parliament doing so? And three, has the Commissioner not neglected his primary duty as Police Commissioner as a result of his dual role and thereby causing an upsurge in crime and violence nationwide? Number four, Mr. Speaker, if the government is happy to keep him as controller, can it name a new police commissioner, as the country clearly needs one? And finally, Mr. Speaker, is the government considering a state of emergency to arrest rising law and order problems, particularly the killings we experience in the country at present? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. I want to appreciate the question from the member for Kiriwina Good Enough, the Deputy Opposition Leader. He's prefixed his questions with the backdrop of the COVID-19 and the National Pandemic Act that we passed, and the structure in which we were keeping our pandemic response. I want to say, whilst we may have come out of the serious part of the pandemic, but we have not fully come out of the threat of resurgence or even the re-emergence of that strand of COVID-19 or any other strand of COVID-19, going forward. That is there, but we have toned down the state of emergency declaration, as you correctly said, in 2020 or thereabouts. The Pandemic Act still is in place. It's not just applicable to COVID-19, but any going forward into the future, if something happens again, that Pandemic Act could be used to call for emergency response and the response that as a government or as a country we can fall into to keep ourselves safe. Police Commissioner has not abandoned his designation as the Chief Accountable Officer in our police structure. He still remains at work as a Police Commissioner. He's been attending to work and task despite the shortcomings that we have. This morning alone he informed me, and Deputy Prime Minister was in that meeting, that United Nations has relayed to us the number of policemen we need in our country to curb lawlessness is about 26,000, if I'm not wrong, 26,000. We need 26,000 policemen. The last time a police recruit took place was, a systematic recruit took place was 2008, and the latest it took place was 2018 or 2017, thereabouts, only once. We had almost a 10-year gap of absence of police recruit and police intervention. We had an aging police force that we are now cleaning up and trying to restock police. I did inform me the first batch of recruitment or selection has been completed, and first entry will take place within the second half of this year, in fact in August. In fact, next week the first 300 recruits will go inside, and we're putting them into a fast-paced mode. 300 recruits every 6 months or so going forward to really ramp up, improve police capacity. Simply put, he is working as police commissioner. He doesn't give 70–80% of his time to the pandemic. He gives almost 95, 96, 97% of his time to police matters, and we put it to him that the buck stops with him and the buck stops with us as leaders running this country. Law and order is a major issue right now. We need him to attend to these matters and ensure that it is being addressed. So to reply to the Deputy Opposition Leader's question, he has not abandoned his work as Police Commissioner. He is doing his work as Police Commissioner. We're looking at temporary as well as permanent solution to the matter, as I was alluding to yesterday. And I want to assure this House, when someone dies in the country, doesn't matter which part of the country they come from through lawlessness or is affected, it pains and bleeds all of us, including myself. And so we do not want us to be living in an insecure environment going forward. We have ramped up on the work of police strengthening, police resourcing, police recruiting. This will be continually ramped up as you go into 2024, 2025, and going forward. Police Commissioner is at work as Police Commissioner, and I want to assure you he's no longer on full day job looking after the pandemic matter. We've sailed out through the pandemic phase. He's now back in his everyday job. He's now back in his... we have a...
Sergeant of Arms and Destined to... Honorable Governor, what's your point of order?
Chamber of the Parliament and will interfere with the smooth running of the Parliament. Parliament must adjourn so that the attendants will deal with this kind of situation. So I invite you to adjourn the Parliament now, temporarily.
Honorable Governor, the attendants have returned to the matter, so I will not suspend Parliament. I will allow the Parliament to go ahead.
Do it.
Prime Minister, you may continue on your reply.
Yeah, Mr. Acting Speaker, sorry, Lord, this place you come up on top. Parliament get work, law blocking too, but mouse law people too, so you may easy law people come on top. Even don't need hard law to mass. But anyway, in any case, Mr. Acting Speaker, me like finish now, me like giving barely see long. Parliament, country through question law, deputy opposition leader, police commissioner, me like talk. You know now full-time long pandemic and health secretary, team Logan or look at him now. You go back stop full-time work please and police commissioner. If this work you go finish him. Since 2020 he's been more or less spending all of his time running the police department. So there is no need for him and his presence at the pandemic office. We still run the national the operating center, and I want to also assure through this question, we will get a full report to the Parliament in as far as the operation of the National Operations Center and the pandemic operations. The Parliament will be privy to it, if not earlier, then in the November budget sitting, we'll give a full status update on the COVID-19 pandemic phase, where we are, the funds received, and how we've spent, so the country knows exactly the status of the COVID-19 operations. But to assure this House, the Commissioner is no longer full-time there. He is back at Konodobu running his police force, and he knows that he's got to step up and to ensure he gets delivering the work of police operations in our country. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Mulbaya.
Deputy Speaker, thank you, look so long. Online lo Mulbaya, me thank you. Me too, taking time lo me thank you lo Martin. Ibla kam stable ya. Ibla future leaders so me thank you lo kam blibla. You are almost welcome. Me like directing this question. Bloming kolonga Minister Blonga, Internal Trade and Investment Minister, International Trade and Investment Minister. Minister of Agriculture can take note. Me like making a briefly long background. District Blomilo Mulbaya Lumsa, especially in Baya, Ruti, Mingata, big block ground is well fertile. Mingat ground is la place Blomilo, Ruti and Baya. Me stop out lo province na. Minister, long office blue long, or office blue department blue. Make him several attempts na attend him. District Blomi, make him all gatherings, talk with them online with my DDA several times. Department Blue make him display. Good play make him display na. Me like sawe na Parliament too like sawe. Disla flow masawe too. People Blomi masawe too. When I'm interested. As you are minister now, when I'm interested in you, long display district below me, now me looking Mosem, you focus straight long, district below me so, enough you clarify me yet, long display flow, now Mulbaya Lumsa people masawe, now country masawe, na flow masawe. Awesome. So we should blow you me like me by explain, long district below me. You clarify the floor of Parliament so that people will be Masawe. You talk to all the talk so all Masawe straight. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. King Speaker, na me like talk thank you, Lord. Member of Mulbaya, Lord, this is an important question. Firstly, me like talk thank you, Lord, Governor Long. Western Highlands na you yet member lo time is a team long Japan only come me blabin come visit him routine na mulbaya. Na you yet you welcome me plan and Governor Blayu na me talk thank you. Long time na effort you put in, what people will meet him team. Time only finishing Mogabat only production of the report. Now this report I may highly recommend him. Mulbaya district and especially routine na Baya Valley to be an area of special interest where government must look like a special economic zone, lo producing feed or grain, lo Disla district. I'm important, Mr. Speaker, that Parliament notes. Currently, Papua New Guinea continues to import wheat from Australia. All come to lay, na blend him, na mix him, na even like some flour now, feed him all chicken too. This is one of the reasons why, Mr. Speaker, cost belong chicken and me untapped through the country. We can't produce and even export because of the high cost of feed. So time report come out, only recommend him highly that District Blayu must be considered to become a feed or grain capital of Papua New Guinea. As a result of the report, Mr. Speaker, na a group member, na governor, we will Salim team, we go back to Lohab, na go meet one them Nari, because Nari working will trial with the Western Province. Now me, I must inform him how team me gonna last week, meet one them Nari long Tambul, the research station lo Nari na find him out awesome. He got 12 wheat species of varieties for all thing. He can come up good lo Western Highlands na in particular long Bay Valley na Ruti area. This lab we got over around 40,000 hectares of state land and mistap. Totala Tubla Valley. So only go look na totok one them Nari na totok one them district. Na mihamma to toko sa administration will cooperate na only interest through lo look lo imi starting on lo big lo project lo district Blayu. Na mi bla work now one them private sector na Nari na my bla to one them land agriculture department na cut consultation past them na mi bla by come back lo you want the governor want the one bla detailed proposal long come up in first grain hub lo yumi inside long valley lo you lo ruti na lo baya lo Papua New Guinea. So plain me go sem na close to time by me bla finishing on the proposal na bla after consultation with them all key ministers by me bla karim kam long cabinet lo make some bla decision lo come up in one bla big bla special economic zone lo baya na ruti valley inside the Western Highlands province particularly lo growing wheat na stop him sla import lo wheat over the time he import long Australia and go over 500 million. Ambition will come, so me talk. Thank you to Mr. Speaker. A good block question and update. Thank you.
Governor Blow Enga.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Question blow me without notice by me ask him the Honorable Don Pompolye, member for Kandepna, Minister of Law, Department of Higher Education, Science, Research and Technology. Mr. Acting Speaker, before me asking question long Minister, for the sake of the country, with all the speculation, long issues, long Enga, I want to give assurance to parents of students studying in Enga and lecturers and public servants from outside of Enga who are serving in our province that they are all safe and well. What we have is tribal fights, and tribal fights are confined to tribal areas. So I just want to give assurance that all the kids and lecturers and other public servants working in Enga are safe. They are safer than in Port Moresby or elsewhere. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Prime Minister, the Honourable James Marape, and the last government for passing the bill to establish the Innovative University of Enga. I want to also give assurance to the government and the people of this nation that work on the Innovative University of Enga is progressing well, and we will commence intake of students next year, in 2024. As I speak today, we have 700 students attending tertiary institutions in Enga province. So this is just an assurance that I want to give the provincial government and administration and the security forces are doing all they can to maintain peace and harmony and stability in the province. At this juncture, Mr. Acting Speaker, having the bill passed in our last parliament, the provincial government and ourselves have been interacting with the Department of Higher Education, and through our own research now, we realize, Mr. Acting Speaker, that because we've been engaged in trying to set up this new university, we have tried to see where the other existing university academic performances are. Sadly, Mr. Acting Speaker, we realize the quality of education in all our tertiary institutions has dropped. And so I just want to ask the Minister, the Honorable Don Pompoye, can you please tell us what the government is doing about trying to improve quality of education at our tertiary institutions? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister for Higher Education.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I think it's a very strategic and a sincere question from the Honorable Governor. If I may just make 2 points. One is in the concern Alex expressed that I saw many good young children of 6, 7 years old up there watching the Parliament session, and the other children up there too. And I think the Sultan of Hams, if you would like to check people coming in, not here, you check at those gates properly and don't make a show into the Parliament because they're concerned. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The second point is I also being from the province that the Honourable Governor has asked a question with regards to the quality of higher institutions in Papua New Guinea. I'd like to also join him in giving the assurance that while these tribes are fighting amongst themselves, which has been an ongoing, unfortunate, detrimental, if I may call it a tradition up there, our friends, our other people, the students who go up there, they are well safe, and I support the government, and we're working together to bring the matter to a conclusion. Let me also express the work that the governor has done in Enga province, because he's asking me a question, and he has experience to ask me, because he has established through this parliament, through the support of the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister and his government, the University of Enga, and it is working very well. And Mr. Speaker, if I might say that if we are talking about quality, I do not want to make many negative statements about it, but I'm seeing the University of Enga as a new university that we can build that university into a quality from day one, a standard that meets international best practices, and you can use that as a hallmark to look at healing other universities and colleges and TVETs that may have declined in their quality in one or another. Now, to the question of what is the Marabe Rosa government doing with regards to quality, this is what the government has done. We've established a national higher institution qualification framework that is a standard that passed with the world's best practices in academic and the technical curriculum and programs. So the national qualification framework is one that is international standard. Now, how are we addressing quality through that national qualification framework? First, we are looking at the institutions that exist in Papua New Guinea to have them registered by this standard. We are applying a standard called the Higher Education or Higher Institutions Registration Standard. To have them registered as a university or as a college or as a TVET, they must meet the 13 registration criteria, including financial management, governance and leadership, academic,
and technical skills programs in those institutions, the facilities that are there, the qualification of the staff and trainers on the campus, etc. So if they meet that registration standard, then that institution becomes an institution as such. Like I can not call a university if it does not meet the standard, but I will not close it. What I'm doing is I'm healing them. I've chosen to heal them, not to kill them. So we have strictly provided the guidelines through which these institutions can become registered by the international standard. Second is the accreditation programs. These universities must offer courses or curriculums or programs that are accredited by international accreditation. For example, I'm very happy to announce to this Parliament that the University of Technology in Leh has now started to come into the focus of meeting standard of accreditation. The engineer's qualification that has been given through over the many years by University of Technology were not recognized, Mr. Deputy Speaker, at the international standard because they could not meet the accreditation of the Washington or the Dublin Accord. But now we have achieved professional accreditation so that we are now recognized as a university. So similar is applied to all the programs. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm very strict on this because it is very important. We're living at an age where the programs that are imparted to our students, graduates, the skilled people, the blue-collar trainees, and the white-collar trainees, academic or technical skills, they must be taught or trained through the international affiliated programs. Also, we're looking at is the area where staff or the trainers themselves or the lecturers of the universities, they must be properly qualified too. I find it a little bit ironic to see people calling themselves deans of departments if they have not produced any journals based on some scientific or some social academic research in that institution. This will all have to change because when I speak, all the vice-chancellors, the chancellors, and everyone who is a stakeholder or a participant in the higher education sector knows about this because I've met with the chancellors and the vice-chancellors, everyone I've talked to them. We must upgrade the qualifications. For instance, in the area of teaching, I have issued an instruction in consultation together with those experts in the business to raise the GPA standard from 2.4 to 2.8. So that means a student living at 12 coming on to becoming a teacher must meet this standard of 2.8 GPA. It was below that at 2.4. And that, to me, no, I like to have the best students coming out of the universities to come to teachers' colleges or universities like UOG and the TVWAN University and the others that are doing the teachers' training courses. So we are looking at those things quite comprehensively to making sure we meet the national qualification standard. If I'm also very briefly mention what about the skills that we're developing through our TVETs. We have also established this body called the National Skills Development Agency. The National Skills Development Agency is a body comprised of people in the industry, in the market, both overseas and in Papua New Guinea. So they consult and work with the petroleum sector, mining sector, the electrical sector, construction industry, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So they are now reviewing all the programs, the curriculum taught in the TVETs are be reviewed by this. So the Honorable Governor for Yang can be very happy that this polytech that is building there in Wapanamanda will come under that program to making sure that the programs are best suited to the international standard, and we are using the Australian standard and the New Zealand standard to start off this. So we have the National Skills Development Agency in place developing the curriculum, and we have established special working groups, those who are now consulting with the industry, because we like to make our courses that we offer to our students relevant. Mr. Acting Speaker, or Mr. Deputy Speaker, accessibility is very important. Those students who come
Our question time is already lapsed, and I would ask you to make your reply to the governor short so that we can continue on to the session.
Right.
I would ask you to sum up your reply.
Right. I'll sum it up this way, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that to give accessibility to those students who are coming up through the lower school system, they must have access to all the higher institutions, programs, the quality programs we are providing at the top level. To do that, I find the easiest tool we can use is digitalization of all the higher education sectors. So you have online, because you cannot build all this infrastructure, classrooms and so forth at one go at the institution. Therefore, we're driving digital approach to enhance the quality, but also give access to the students who are coming. But making sure those programs are relevant to Papua New Guinea's learning, so we live at par with the current era of time. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Minister, before I recognize you, I have a reply here to reply to the question raised by the Honorable Member for Abao, Se Pukatemu, yesterday during the question time. Honorable Member in the Parliament, I'd like to inform the Parliament that the Permanent Parliamentary Committee on Law and Order has received funding from the Department of Treasury to continue its function, as you have questioned yesterday. Therefore, the chairman of the committee has advised that the committee will be meeting this week to finalize work and plan going forward in regard to the question you have raised. I thank the Department of Treasury and the Minister for the funds towards the committee to carry out its constitutional parliamentary duties. In addition to this, I'd like to make a clarification to the member for Karamui nominee in the statement that you have made in recognition to your district to be named as Salt Nomane. The chair and the parliament address you as member for Karamui nominee according to the writ that has been gazetted by the Governor General. The writ has been named your district as Karamui nominee. Therefore, the chair will recognize you as member for Karamui nominee. Thank you. The Honourable Minister for State Enterprise.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Mr. Acting Speaker, I seek leave of this Parliament to provide a further clarification and answer to the question that was asked by the good governor for East Sepik Province yesterday.
Is the leave granted? Minister, make your speech.
Mr. Acting Speaker, thank you. In response to the full response to the question asked by the governor for East Sepik yesterday, Mr. Acting Speaker, we work as 5 generation units which serve the town. Only 2 have been working for the last 5 days, while the other 3 generators have not been working due to technical faults. So what has happened, Mr. Acting Speaker, is that PNG Power has introduced load setting to work for the last 5 days, so that when one part of the town receives power, the other doesn't, and then after a couple of hours later, it is shifted to the other part of the town, so that at the end of each day, all parts of the town receive power. So it is not to say that for the last 5 days, UEG has received no power at all. They have been receiving power in sequences. So, Mr. Acting Speaker, one generation set was repaired completely last night, and as we speak today, there are 6 which are in operation now, while the PNG Power team continue to work on the 2. And also, Mr. Speaker, as of yesterday, one new generator was actually shipped to UEG. So by the end of next week, we should have 8 or 6 full generators serving the town of UEG. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the papers. The Minister for Public Service.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. On the notice paper, I'll seek brief to present annual report for 2021 and 2022 instead of the payroll audit that can come later.
Honourable members, the leave granted. Leave granted. Minister, make your speech.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to this Honourable House a brief statement on the annual management reports for the Department of Special Management for the years 2021 and 2022. Mr. Acting Speaker, this report is presented in accordance to Section 32 of the Public Services Management Act 1995 that agency heads shall, by 31st of March in each year, prepare a report on the attainment of planned objectives and produce such better reports to National Executive Council and further to Parliament. This report provides statistical and narrative reporting on the functions performed by the Department of Special Management and details the progress and key achievements in 2021 and 2022. Mr. Acting Speaker, in line with the priorities of the Barabi government, and especially in the major call out by the Prime Minister to take back PNG, our key priority is reforming the public service to achieve an efficient public service machinery in delivering the required services at a minimal cost. This hard line has been spoken at almost all public service forums. Mr. Acting Speaker, the Department of Special Management Annual Management Report of 2021. In 2021, the Ministry of Public Service was allocated 6 key result areas to implement government directives to address the ever-increasing expenditure blowouts in the personal emoluments budget and reforming the public service for improved performance and service delivery. Strategies have been put in place to achieve this and are currently ongoing. Mr. Acting Speaker, these are medium to long-term strategies and will not be achieved overnight as we progress into the future. We are positive that greater achievements will be realized with strong leadership at the political and bureaucratic level. Mr. Acting Speaker, the 6 key result areas were: 1, to create a smarter and leaner organization structure by removing duplications and inefficiencies. 2, review legislations and general orders. 3, review of Public Service Management Act to empower provinces to better manage provincial government personnel. 4, achievement of quality workforce planning to ensure that the supply of skilled, qualified and competent staff meet the needs of a growing population and job creation for efficient delivery of services to the people. 5, to conduct a complete comprehensive manpower and payroll audit. And 6, promote practical and targeted training for public servants. Mr. Acting Speaker, federal government directives were issued by way of NEC decisions through NEC decision number 109 of 2019 on the issuance of Special General Order 11 on administrative cost savings in the public service and reinforcement of existing policies to take back PNG, and NEC decision number 373 of 2020 on public sector reforms and cost control for implementation. Mr. Acting Speaker, all the reform initiatives put forward by the government, including the 6 KRAs of the Ministry of Public Service and the core functions of the department, were incorporated into the Secretary's KRAs for implementation by the department. 15 KRAs were devised for the Secretary and was signed with the Minister as the Secretary's performance commitments for 2021. Mr. Acting Speaker, key achievements for year 2021. I wish to report on the floor of Parliament key milestone achievements for year 2021. Notable achievements resulting from the implementation of the 6 KRAs, government directives and corporate plan 2019 to 2022 were: 1. Launching of the Human Resource Development Strategic Plan 2020 to 2050, which now paves the way for detailed policy to address the human resource issues in the public service. 2. NID for public servants to lead to 1 person, 1 position, 1 pay, and cleansing of the payroll. With over 12,000 public servants already registered on NID in NCD out of 12,355. For the provinces, the Papua New Guinea Civil Identity and Registry Office is collecting the data on registration. ID photos for inclusion in the payroll, which 2 agencies have already undertaken this, an upgrade of the payroll system, which has commenced since January 2023. 3. Launching of the Human Resource Business Process Training Package, where regional trainings have been completed around the country to ensure HR managers understand the use and application of the general orders. 4. Payroll abolished agencies, where 40 million kina was saved as a result of this exercise. 5. Health and medical insurance for public servants, which the Investment Promotion Authority has approved to set up of the Public Service New Care Association under the scheme for the public service, and this is anticipated to come into operation in the 3rd quarter of 2023. 6. Public sector training policy for public service, being implemented by Somare Institute of Leadership and Governance. 7. Implementation of Special General Order 11, where HR powers will be given back to the agencies who comply with instructions and will be on creative approach. This is a very important point, Mr. Acting Speaker, for members to take note. Not any agency just can be given the powers if they don't comply with the process. 8. Engagement of Deloitte to audit the LSF payroll. I will present this report in this session of Parliament, which is now ready. The Acting Speaker, key challenges in implementing in year 2021 are: the implementation of the public service reforms was greatly hindered by the intrusion of COVID-19 pandemic and the numerous challenges associated with it. COVID-19 greatly affected the operation of the department and altered the way government conducted its business. However, the department had remained focused in implementing the reform initiatives concurrently with counteractive measures put in place to addressing safety of public servants and order and other related issues. This resulted in the department making remarkable progress and achievements in implementing the reform agenda. Mr. Acting Speaker, I now go to the Department of Personnel Management Annual Report of 2022. The year 2022 was election year for Papua New Guinea. The public service machinery was challenged to deliver the election with strength from April to July of 2022. Despite the challenges of the election year, the public service continued to operate to ensure there was normalcy during the election period. It was important to see the public service machinery take control of the national elections. It was a period of powers being seen to be exercised by the bureaucracy and the public service. In the Departmental Election Committee was in place, led by Chief Secretary to Government with the support of the key agencies and discipline forces. Mr. Acting Speaker, the Ministry of Public Service and the Department played a key role in setting the course by issuing circular instructions in 2021 by giving advance notice to public servants who intended to contest elections to resign 6 months prior to the issue of writs. Mr. Acting Speaker,
Hello, I'm Tracy Pa with the Midday News. Number One Super Limited has issued... Okay. Okay. Hello, I'm Tracy Pa with the Midday News. Number One Super Limited has issued a final letter of notice to the state seeking payment of its outstanding rental arrears after the state's failure to consistently make scheduled payments. Rental invoices and arrears amount to $113 million as at Tuesday, 1st August 2023.
A final letter of notice for rental areas accrued over several years by state departments occupying Number One Super Limited's Revenue House, Volupindi House, Edatano House, Treasury House, Aupis Center and NSL House in Ley has been issued. The state has only paid 20 million kina for the January and February installments and has fallen behind on its payments by 6 months, as it is yet to pay the remaining 60 million kina for March, April, May, June, July and August. Last year, Number One Super Limited and the state reached an agreement whereby the state would settle the remaining balance of its rental areas in 10 million kina monthly installments. The installments include 5 million kina for clearing the balance previously accrued and 5 million kina to pay its current rental invoices. Number One Super Limited has given notice to the state advising that if the agreement is not upheld with the payment of the 60 million kina accrued in 2023 before Friday, 4th August 2023, with further consistent monthly payments, Number One Super Limited will conduct another lockout of several state tenancies. Susan Oreape, TVWAN News.
Power outages continuously plague the country. Concerns raised by Mississippi Governor Alan Bed, the outage in his province in Parliament yesterday, has left Minister Duma responsible for state-owned enterprise embarrassed.
I am, as a minister, very embarrassed to be able to respond to this question again and again. There is a real need for that company to be overhauled, and most of us leaders know about the situation confining this company. We worked very, very hard to, we know where the problems are, and myself in my ministry, there is enough literature on this company. Many studies have been made, starting with Coromenta way back in 2016. Those problems were identified. I must admit that it's purely a management issue, and There is a new board led by a new hardworking chairman together with very experienced board members who are actually working on turning this around. I do not have immediate solutions or short-term solutions to this, but we are working very hard. And
in a major stride towards bolstering electricity generation and sustainability in Papua New Guinea, the Australian government is collaborating with PNG to implement the PNG Electrification Partnership, or PEP. This partnership aims to support PNG Power Limited in its effort to provide reliable power across the country. One of the significant initiatives on the new stainless steel trash rack at the PPL Ramu hydropower station, which will help prevent serious damage and interpretation to power supply caused by debris entering the turbines. The Department of Information and Communication Technology hosted a two-day regional consultation workshop for the New Guinea Highland region in Kokopo of East New Britain province. The workshop successfully ended with Governor Michael Marum officially launching the East New Britain Provincial High City Action Plan.
The purpose of the two-day regional consultation workshop is to raise awareness about the policies of the Department of Information and Communication Technology, its plans and objectives. 32 representatives from the government agencies and the private sector showed commitment in driving positive changes and embracing opportunities from digital technologies. Deputy Provincial Administrator for Corporate Service, Marakan Uvano, spoke about the significance of the policies set forth to drive implementation in the province. He stated that the digital transformation is not only a government initiative, but a technology standard that aligns with global community. The workshop successfully ended with Governor Michael Marum officially launching the ENB Provincial ICT Action Plan. East New Britain now stands as the pioneer province at the subnational level, aligning itself with the digital transformation policy.
In regional news, detectives believe the woman in yellow, who is one of 64 sets of unidentified human remains in the Northern Territory, died 3 to 10 years before she was discovered.
In dense scrubland in Darwin's northern suburbs, the body of an unknown woman was discovered by a bushwalker in 1987. More than 35 years later, she finally has a face.
Family may recognise the features of that person.
Technological advancements have allowed forensic scientists to digitally reconstruct the Aboriginal person's features. Known only as the woman in yellow, her body was believed to be lying at the site in Lianya for up to 10 years before being discovered. Her identity still a mystery today.
All we can really say is that she's an Aboriginal woman, aged roughly 18 to 30 years of age, and that when she was found there was a piece of yellow clothing found in her vicinity, so hence the woman in yellow.
Last year, detectives solved another 25-year missing person mystery thanks to DNA technology, which saw a family in Arnhem Land reunited with their loved one's remains. Officers now hold hopes it could happen again.
Technology at the time through DNA failed to produce any identification of the person, but obviously the changes in science evolves every single day.
Police say they've triggered the search to mark the start of National Missing Persons Week. Currently, there are 64 unidentified human remains being assessed in the Territory. Cold case detectives are now calling for members of the public to come forward and provide any information, like the name of the unknown woman, or items or records or relevance that they may have at home, to help find an answer to solve this enduring top-end mystery.
In sports, SPPNG Hunters veteran captain Hila Halu still has a lot to offer as the 2023 Ostplus Cup season approaches the end of the regulation rounds. The Hunters' slim hopes of making the top 8 this year were shattered after their loss to Brisbane Tigers on Sunday. However, the captain is confident the boys will finish off the season on a positive note.
With 3 regulation rounds remaining before the Ostplus Cup finals, the PNG Hunters would love to end their season with a good outcome. PNG Hunters captain Ila Alu, when reflecting back on the club's second season post-COVID, said he's been pleased with the attitude of the young squad and proud of their development and progress so far over the past 4 months, which is important to the team's rebuilding process moving forward.
I look great at things ahead. It's just their debut season, and for them to come out and be the best that they could be for the club. The future look bright for all of us, for the club in general. So I'm really proud of all of them. They've all earned their stripes, and looking forward to working alongside a few of them, as well as getting them to ensure that they can learn from the experience and grow from this and be a greater input for the club.
He sees a lot of promising talents in the current squad that have shown great potential that they can play at a higher level. He said 2023 has been their best season yet. Being the leader in the group, Alu will try as much as possible to use this opportunity to impart his wealth of experience and knowledge playing at this level, which he hopes can rub off on the younger players. While slowly approaching the twilight of his football career, the Hunters captain said the body is good and he's still enjoying his footy at the moment.
I'd say one of my best years so far, and loving every moment of it. Being part of the Hunters, it's a privilege, and I know one day my time will come up, but I'll do all I can. So I'm just as everyone else that donned the Hunters jersey and won the jersey before me. We wear it with a lot of passion, and that's what I've been doing, and doing my best to lead the side. So yeah, I'll do that again this week for sure, lead the boys, and give my best as much as I can to contribute to the team's outcome.
Alu is ready to lead the boys out again this weekend when the Hunters host the Dolphins in round 20 of the Host Plus Cup at the Santos National Football Stadium. Terry Longwood, TVWAN Sports.
The 16-year-old long-distance runner, Christina Moyang from Chimbu Province, will proudly carry the flag for Papua New Guinea at the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago. Moyang is seated to complete in the 800-meter, 1,500-meter and 3,000-meter events at the Games. She started to make her mark in the athletics arena when she won the 1,500-meter under-16 race at the 2020 National Championships, and she has continued to show a mettle ever since. Despite missing the 2021 National Championships, she excelled at the Island Momase Regional Championships, taking top honors in the open 3,000 meters and 5,000 races. With the support of the Athletics PNG, she showcased her powers at the 2023 National Championships, sweeping the board in the open 5,000 meters, under 18 3,000 meters, and under 16 1,500 meters events. Christine's commitment, discipline, and self-motivation have earned her not just accolades, but the respect of her peers and mentors. And that's it for the Midday News. Join us at 6 for more.
Sorry, not you, our district there, Makam. I go to Bulolo. I go to Waria, the new district that has been. I go to Menyamia. They're living in a corner house, and we expect them to come with a good spirit to perform the public services duty. And hard to express. I feel sorry for them. I feel totally sorry for them. There's a bunch of university graduates, highly qualified. They're supposed to be highly paid and with respect, accommodated in a decent accommodations to perform the public service. We are talking, but the public service is in suffering. And when they're in suffering, they're human beings, they're bound to do something that we don't want. One of which I've already said, stealing. Mr. Acting Speaker, many public prosecutors, public servants have been charged and prosecuted by the courts of this country. There is clear evidence, Mr. Acting Speaker. We have to take actions, not too much talking. Take actions. Mr. Acting Speaker, with greatest respect, I deviate from the opinion by the Minister for Public Service. With the greatest respect, We passed the law, this parliament passed the law to make sure that those fellows who contest the election, Mr. Acting Speaker, will not come, will not stand. We have no standing to contest the election until 5 years. Hey, some of these students, some of these employees, they are a bunch of young people who got employed in the public service, energetic, intelligent, resourceful. Some are doctors. Some hold a master's degree, some hold a doctor's degree, some hold so many bundles of degrees they hold them to perform. And they're energetic to do the job for their districts. The job, you want to do the job for this country. This country is a difficult country, we know. Very difficult country. And to prevent them, you prevent a doctor from contesting, doctor. Other profession with due respect, but doctor. The community needs doctor. They need doctor. Smart doctor, qualified doctor, who is ready to sacrifice for a difficult country. Is ready to sacrifice. Like life in the highlands, in the Morobe, the mountains are difficult to climb. But the doctors have got employed to make sure in the difficult circumstances they provide the medical services. And with the greatest respect, the Minister, if you prevent them from contesting the election, say 5 years, you are making our people suffer. Our people suffer, Mr. Acting Speaker. That is why that decision is a bad decision. You have to amend the law to allow those people to come in and work. This is our country. And I can quite see, Mr. Acting Speaker, there's a clear breach of Section 50 of the Constitution, right? A clear breach of constitutional section which provides for the guarantees every citizen of this country to be employed. It's a clear breach. When the state lawyer will give him advice long and this man come long outer space. I mean, so long life from this ground. Come long outer space. Outer space. Every so long country. Goilola. I fly over Goilola. Almost every week I fly over Goilola. I feel sorry for Goilola people. Mountainous people. And you're saying that the doctor by nuna come inside. Teacher by nuna logo teacher and slahab. You rule gada. You come to not plus species. I think you know ground it, but you come to sample and when a planet will bring us how long. You come from there. If you come from the planet Earth, you will know the difficulty that we face in Papua New Guinea. So that decision is a wrong decision. Wrong decision. Mr. Acting Speaker, furthermore, many of our kids graduating from the University of Papua New Guinea, all university, and other institutions, the Minister for Higher Education has stated, they're brainy guys, they're coming out, and they have no employment, Mr. Acting Speaker. They have no employment. They come here, they've been blocked by those fellows who have been working there for donkey years. Even some of them have reached 55 years, supposed to retire. They've not been retired. And they're being blocked. They're the one who are blocking the intelligent people who are qualified to go and work there, Mr. Acting Speaker. Hey, this is our country. It's not just for those fellows who have been working there donkey years. It's for those new ones that we have produced who come from the different levels of intellectual school in this country, Mr. Acting Speaker. And we must allow them to get employed. We must provide money to respectfully deal with those fellows who have gone past 55 years, respectfully deal with them, and then equally so do respectfully to those who have completed the university or intellectual school of learning. That is why so many crimes here, crimes around here. Don't think that only the village boy who never been to school or grade 6 or grade 8 is causing the trouble in this country. It's a university graduate, they want job, Mr. Acting Speaker. They want job, and they're entitled to a job in this country because this country belongs to them, Mr. Acting Speaker. This country belongs to them, and we must give them an opportunity, Mr. Acting Speaker, and those fellows must come in. Mr. Minister, with the greatest respect to you, there seems to be no record of those students who have passed out the intellectual school of learning. There seems to be no record. When we have the record, and there seems to be no record in the public service, those who are going to retire or those who will continue to stay, they must have a record. Sensibly set out, Mr. Acting Speaker, so that we know these fellows are retiring on this day, these are they going out, these fellows are coming in. We accommodate them. So you're going to see that every person committing whatever intellectual school of learning, whatever qualification in this country is guaranteed employment, Mr. Acting Speaker. And people something here. I'm not making something. Mr. Civil Settlement, Acting Speaker. So many university graduates live in the block that I live. So many university students, so many diplomas, so many degrees, they live in the block. They tell me, Governor, no I'd walk here. No I'd walk. No I'd walk there. No I'd walk, no I'd. You got walk, that's all man belong. Starting you don't go to walk here. All making walk, all listen to you, Mr. Acting Speaker. That is why we have to be serious with our country, Mr. Prime Minister. This is a serious matter. Unemployment is a serious matter in this country, Mr. Speaker. Very serious matter. You're trying to build a road over there. You're trying to construct a building over there. You want to do a big business. In the face of a country, citizens are suffering from unemployment. They're going to get frustrated and fight against you. The policy of the government is not going to be implemented. It's not going to be implemented. You can crab foul all of this thing, but it's not going to be implemented because you have not treated the citizens of this country with greatest respect and with dignity and with sanctity. Honourable Speaker, we have not. We have not, Mr. Acting Speaker. That is why public service, you are a very important institution. I love you. I want to work with you. Love in the sense that I want to work with you. Mr. Acting Speaker, you're the right and most appropriate person sitting on that chair. On that chair. We can't go past you. The right person sitting on the chair. But let's really address the country's interest. Don't run away from it. Don't run away from it. And you provide a salient report which I'm able to read and digest. But I think certain actions needs to be taken place. We're so worried about building the road, building the bridges, building big infrastructure here and there, call our name, phase 1 project, phase time project, all of those things we get. But if we don't look after the institution which delivers the government policy, we will stand to suffer. This country will stand to suffer. We'll continue to stand to suffer. That is why we must make sure the public service must be well looked after. The criminals in the public service, they must be vacated. They must be vacated. We can't allow public servants who are stealing money, doing all sorts of things. You know, so he got sacked and going to court to see a remedy, fighting over the position which doesn't exclusively belongs to him, belongs to the whole of this country, and he's fighting, delaying this and that. Take a tough action. Take a tough action. Those people who are not performing well must be vacated. You can't about me talk show him one money walking playing poker machine and stuff. I will show you. I'll show you. I will not get scared. I hold public forum every end of the month. And I tell them, you don't perform, you get out. The nation doesn't need you. We want a hardworking, dedicated, trouble-free, good name, impeccable record. Those people must work. And when we do that, we are assured our future is in the safe hands. If we don't do this, our future is not in the safe hands. Definitely not. We have to start now. You see, the public servants are not performing enough. We were going down, get Australians to come and work, go and employ the New Zealanders to come and work. All of those things. Hey, this is our country. This is our independent country. Too many advices, white advices all over the places I see. Hi, this is our independent country. Huh? We're supposed to be making sure that well-disciplined public servants are supposed to be working in the public service of our country, not trying to go and recruit people from overseas. Hi, the world has become small. The world has become intelligent. Once upon a time, they described us as a developing country, Mr. Acting Speaker, and unintelligent. Now we're intelligent. We're intelligent. We're intelligent, like anybody in the United States or in Britain or wherever. But the only thing, we have to make sure that we improve ourselves. We are good people to work there in the public service and have confidence in our public service. Have confidence, get the right people there, and surely our future is in the safe hands. But thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, and thank you for the Minister. No offense for all the things that I've said. I said for the goodness of our country. Our country. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Governor Foro.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Speaker, for giving us the opportunity to debate this very important subject. I won't be long. I will speak very briefly as the chairman of the Special Parliamentary Committee on Public Sector Reforms. I want to commend the Minister for his report and his team at DPM. They have done a magnificent job. Wonderful reports that have been presented. They've addressed a number of key issues that affect our public sector, and I commend him for his efforts. Our committee is working very closely with his department and other departments in making an attempt to attend to many of the issues raised by our good governor for Morobe, who is absolutely correct in regards to the plight of our public sector. The state of our public sector needs to be completely reviewed. If we look at ourselves today as a nation, the reason why we are not progressing is because we are still pushing a colonial era machine. While most of the economies around the world are driving SUVs, we are pushing a wheelbarrow insofar as the public sector is concerned. So how do we transform that wheelbarrow into the SUV that this country needs so that it can implement the vision that elected members of parliament have, that leaders who have been elected to transform Papua New Guinea into a great nation have? How can we do this? And the answer is actually presented here in this report, but there's much more work to be done, and work that we must undertake with great haste. And I'm looking forward to the presentation by the Minister in regards to the recommendations presented by Deloitte, one of the top 6 accounting firms in the world, which was engaged to do an audit of our payroll system, which takes up a chunk of our budget every year. I believe about a third. I may be corrected. Too much, to be honest. That report was not presented today. I believe the Minister will be presenting it next week, and I shall then speak in regards to that and the role that the Special Parliamentary Committee played in this effort. I want to commend the executive government under the Prime Ministership of James Marape, the Honorable James Marape, who has attended to this issue, one of many legacy issues that affect our nation, but he has grabbed the bull by the horn, so to speak, with his NEC, and I'm pleased to see that they are progressing the recommendations made, and that report will be presented by our good minister next week. We're all going to look forward to debating this very important report. I just want to add a few comments in relation to the current report that he presented. And taking note of the comments made by our good governor for Morobe, the current situation with our public service is this. Our public service are suffering from lack of proper benefits, from lack of proper remuneration, from unproductivity caused by these situations. We expect them to turn up, be happy, be productive, help transform this nation. But what do we pay them to do this job? Where are they living? What are the conditions they live in? I'm a former public servant, as is the good minister, and many of you here. And we know what conditions we worked under. Deplorable conditions. But prior to independence, the conditions of the public servants were quite significant. Drivers, cleaners, T-boys, they had houses. And they had pride, they had dignity, because the public sector took care of them. So they were able to attend to their duties of transforming this economy, building a great nation. To do that, you need productive people. You need the most innovative and intelligent people. But the most innovative and intelligent people in this country are working for the private sector. Or, in many cases nowadays, they're actually living offshore. They're going overseas to other countries. In this globalized world, they can do that. And we are losing many of our great, wonderful minds. So who do we have left? We have 3 types of public servants. I've said this before. One is you have the transitionary public servant, the nomad. He's just passing through the public service, waiting for a better job somewhere else. Most times he's sitting at the computer typing applications for other jobs, or typing his programs for himself or his wife or his church or whatever it is. But he's not actually serving the country, but he's been paid for that. The nomadic transitionary public servant. It's about, I would estimate, good 30% of our public sector is made of this. The other 30% are there as part of the social security system that we have allowed to become insofar as our public sector is concerned. They don't mean to get a job anywhere else. They're very comfortable. They turn up whenever they feel like it. They leave when they feel like it. No one's checking on them. No supervisor or manager or department head is making an effort to discipline them. And maybe they can't because we haven't given them the benefits, perks, and privileges that they deserve. So maybe we cannot hold them accountable. Then you have the nationalist, the patriotic public servant. I would say that's about 10% of our public service. They come and serve this country with everything they have. Despite the difficulties that they face, they may live in a settlement, they may live in the village. It may cost half their salary just to get to work, to serve this country, to build this nation. And they do it with pride. And they're always optimistic. They're always early. They go home late. They sacrifice themselves, their family, their careers. But patriotism and nationalism doesn't put food on the table. Doesn't help them educate their children. It doesn't help them give the best they could to their family if they were, say, for instance, working in the private sector or overseas. We have to change this ratio. We need 90% patriots in our country, in the public sector, serving this country. So how do we do that? But I'm pleased to say that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have connected with the New Zealand public sector, and we've been working with them for a year now, ourselves, the committee, as well as the Department of Personal Management, and we're looking at a roadmap, which will be tabled here shortly, which says how we can transform this. And we're going to have to make some hard decisions. Hard decisions. For instance, there are too many public service entities. So many. Many of them duplicating work. And without control, many of these organizations have just sprouted overnight. And they have a board, and they have a chairman, and they have a CEO, and they have a line item from Treasury every year for their budget. And they're sucking up a lot of our revenue. We have to look at this organization and start dismantling them. If you look at the report here from the good minister, payout of abolished agencies, 40 million kina was saved as a result of this exercise. We could save much more if we did more of this, and we intend to do more of this. Too many public service entities exist that are carrying out, well, they're duplicating many roles of other public service entities. Some don't even perform. So we're going to have to make that hard decision as well. The other hard decision that we may have to undertake is to cull the public sector. It's too large. It's so large that we are spreading ourselves thin trying to take care of all the public servants. For example, in a particular province where you may have 500 public servants, and let's say you average the pay of each of those public servants to 1,000 kina, you're spending 500,000 kina per fortnight on these 500 public servants. But I can guarantee you that out of those 500 public servants, only 100 actually turn up to work. And of that 100 that turn up to work, I would say about 80 are actually working. Now, if you were to spread that 500,000 and pay those 80, which is what you probably actually just need, so that they can perform the roles of audits, reviews, inspections, managing standards, and let the private sector do the business of goods and services delivery. If you did this, you would significantly improve the lives of those public servants, and I guarantee you that they will come to work extremely happy, willing to work, serve their country, build this nation, not steal, not engage in fraud. And then you would see this country move forward as it ought to move forward. So these are some of the efforts that will be undertaken. I do wish to commend the good minister for Department of Personal Management. He's a hard-working man. He and his team over there, despite difficulties and challenges. And I wish to commend the executive government for taking this effort on. The committee will be monitoring the implementation of those audit reports when those audit reports are tabled here. We want to make sure that those audit reports are implemented, the recommendations, sorry. That's how we can attend to the root cause of the problems that we are constantly debating and discussing here, many of which have been raised by a good governor from Morobe Province, who spoke eloquently and even words of love. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, I interrupt the Parliament. We've gone past lunch. Therefore, honourable members, I now suspend Parliament for lunch and will resume at 2 p.m.